Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett announcing that the state will file an antitrust lawsuit later today against the NCAA, asking that all the sanctions against Penn State be thrown out. Stephen A. Smith, do you have a problem with that?
Yes, I do. Before I say anything, Skip, let me just say, Governor Tom Corbett, don't know him. Obviously, I respect the fact that he's the governor of the great state of Pennsylvania, and I respect all our elected officials, and I understand where they're coming from. In terms of his position, I wish him luck in governing the state of Pennsylvania for years to come. But in this particular situation, his case, as far as I'm concerned, is laughable. Nothing short of laughable. I think it's absolutely a disgrace that they're sitting up there this morning and trying to make this case. First of all, before I even get in to dissecting the rhetoric that was spewed before a nationally televised audience this morning, let me say, where have you all been all of these years when kids on the collegiate level were being exploited? Because the universities were making money. You had no problem with the NCAA then. The numerous rules and regulations that governed the sport for years to come, the fact that these athletes have been devoid of any kind of representation whatsoever, as they've been taken advantage of year after year after year.
Hey, but that's a whole other issue.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you want to sit there all high and mighty, sticking your chest out and talking about how the NCAA is wrong, I'm simply saying, where have you been? Because I can think of a multitude of things the NCAA has been wrong about in the past. I saw no representatives standing up then bloviating about how something was unfair to the citizens and everything else. That's all I'm trying to say that. Now let me get to the point of this case involving Jerry Sandusky and ultimately the penalties that follow. Skip Bayless, you and I have disagreed on this many occasions, and we will disagree with it to our dying breath. I want to be very, very clear to America. I will never relent in my position. I believe what happened to the University of Penn State was well-deserving. I think it should have been worse. This $60 million fine that was exacted against them, I thought it should have been at least triple that. I said it. Triple. I'm talking about $180 to $200 million. I think you're lucky that you didn't receive the death penalty. I think you're incredibly lucky. And so when I look at it from the standpoint of you trying to call out the NCAA, really, you're implying that this wasn't institutional. You believe it was one man. I believe it was institutional. We have a president that has suffered because of this. We have a VP that has suffered because of this. We have an athletic director that has suffered because of this. The iconic figure that represented Penn State University is Mr. Joe Paterno, an icon, a Hall of Famer, a man who had a statue while he was still living and coaching at the university until it was unceremoniously removed. If that ain't the epitome of what's institution, I don't know what is. It was institutionalized what transpired at Penn State University. You had a guy in Jerry Sandusky, who was the former defensive coordinator for Penn State under Joe Paterno, who helped deliver a national championship, who was a sexual predator, who molested at least 10 boys for the record. And we won't even get into the details of what he did to those boys. It has been learned that there was knowledge about what he was doing. Was he fired? No. He was allowed to retire. Was he banned from the university? No. He was allowed to keep his office. Did he have to disassociate himself from the program? Absolutely not. Arguments were made that this dude actually used the football program as a recruiting tool for the kids that he molested, because he was bringing them there and saying, look, there's Joe Paterno, there's this player, there's that player. He brought him to practice. And you're going to talk to me about how it was unfair, the penalty that was handed down to them? That is ridiculous. This man was a sexual predator. I'm going to repeat it again. Child molestation. It doesn't get much worse than that. That's what happened here, and everybody's trying to separate the University of Penn State from Jerry Sandusky. You don't get to do that, because if it was any place else, he would have been dealt with quick, fast, and in a hurry. But Penn State protected that man because they wanted to make sure that their reputation was not impugned. You go down. I feel sorry for the kids. I certainly don't want the businesses to suffer, which is why I said that my position on the death penalty was modified to some degree, because at least you have the games during the year. All we're talking about them is missing is a bowl game and a conference game. You still have all those regular season games and the money to generate for that. I don't want to hear this nonsense. They can go kick rocks. They got what they deserved.
As usual, and I hope this is the last time, you have completely swung and missed the point. Has anybody in the known world defended Jerry Sandusky? No. we all agree with child molestation. This was an evil monster. I think it was a two-man crime here involving Joe Paterno, the late, great Joe Paterno. But the point is, Stephen A. Smith, this was a criminal matter. This was not an NCAA rules violation. You cannot argue that case. Was an NCAA rule broken here? No, it was not. This was a matter for our justice system to handle, and it handled it right on schedule. Where is the evil monster today? He will probably spend the rest of his life in prison. Am I right about that? He will spend the rest of his life in prison. The others are either have been punished or will be punished who were implicated in this crime. This was a crime, not a rules violation. The NCAA was out of bounds. The NCAA didn't have any jurisdiction here. The NCAA piled on because of PR reasons. It wanted to say and show America for PR purposes, look, we're doing something too. We're going to punish these people at Penn State. And hundreds of thousands of innocent bystanders paid for this because you punished the entire football program that had little to nothing to do with the crime after crime after crime perpetrated by the evil monster. Penn State did not benefit football-wise from the evil monster. He didn't recruit players for Penn State. He recruited victims for himself. Am I right about that? So where did Penn State violate a rule that made the football team better? And then you walk in and basically level the whole program? It did. It knocked it down, Stephen A. What Bill O'Brien did this year was miraculous to do what he did. You took, what was it, $60 million out of the budget? Really? And you hurt recruiting for the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be very difficult to overcome the stigma already of this.
I hope it hurts longer than that.
Okay, but that's fine. You're reacting to the evil monster's crimes. None of us disagree with that. We all think it was beyond evil what this man was allowed to do, in part because Joe Paterno, to me, looked the other way. That's very debatable, but that's what I believe. But the point is that the justice system did its duty here, and it did it quickly, and it meted out the proper punishment. And so how can you argue that the NCAA should pile on and basically level the football program on top of that? It's not fair.
You can say that all you want to, and you're entitled to your beliefs, but I'm certainly entitled to mine. And like I said, I'm not wavering on my position one bit. I feel very passionate about this. I also want to add this as well, though. When you talk about state and congressional lawmakers from Pennsylvania objecting to using the Penn State fund to finance activities in other states, I do agree with that position. I do believe that whatever fine that the NCAA has imposed against Penn State University, the money, the $60 million, okay, and they already had given a $12 million payment. I do believe that the money that was given should definitely go back to the state. Because the state of Pennsylvania, I mean, the other states shouldn't be benefiting from Penn State, giving money to the NCAA, for the NCAA to distribute to other states, other programs, or whatever the case may be. That's what they're talking about.
But you can't.
No, what I'm saying,
take money from the state and give it back to the state?
I'm saying if Penn State University, I'm saying Penn State giving money back from Penn State to the NCAA. I don't oppose the governor or any representatives from the state of Pennsylvania saying that that money should be given back to the state to be utilized in some other fashion. It shouldn't go elsewhere, is all I'm trying to say. But in terms of Penn State itself, that university benefiting in any way, I don't know how much clearer I can be on this point. Jerry Sandusky, to some degree, was protected because of the football program. Because the football program, led by an iconic figure, were more concerned with their name being sullied than doing the right thing. That
was one man.
Oh, listen.
One man.
We can't. Well, that one man generated how many hundreds of millions of dollars for the university over the course of his career? You have to remember that. You got to remember, you can't have it both ways. You can't have a guy that is this iconic figure that is single-handedly responsible for building a program from the ashes and generated I think the reports were in excess of $1 billion over the course of his illustrious career as head coach and the man that was the face of that university. This dude generated so much money for Penn State over those years. You can't have that and celebrate that, but then ignore the fact that that very cachet that he had played the role in a child predator, chasing up children. You can't do that.
You want the fans and the players of Penn State University to be punished for the next 5 to 10 years because of the two-man crime perpetrated by Sandusky and Joe Paterno.
Skip.
That's unfair.
All right, then tell me, Skip, that you know what? They should be allowed to play in the bowl game. They should be allowed. Let me finish. Tell me that. Okay, and we can debate that. I might disagree with you, but not that vociferously. Where I step in is when you're going to sit there and talk about, oh, the NCAA was unfair. We shouldn't have to give away any money, and it was just those individuals. It wasn't the program. Excuse me. We look at a multitude of things. Let's take something far more innocuous, far more harmless. Let's look at what happened at Ohio State with Tressel and him losing his job because his boys went to a tattoo parlor, all right, to get tattoos. Let's look at you. I'm just saying.
Another issue.
But what I'm saying to you, Skip, is yes, it's another issue, but the real issue is the representatives of the institution conducted themselves in such a way that impugned the integrity of what college football in an NCAA sanctioned school is supposed to stand for.
I bet I could find 30 other programs in this country, football factory type programs in college football, in which the head football coach could protect an evil monster like Sandusky. He could cover for him if he wanted to, because they all have that much power. Paterno didn't have that much more power than anybody else, and I don't want to name names, but
but he exercised it according to the reports. And you know what? If you listen, there's a lot of murderers out there. Do you catch them all? There's a lot of thieves out there. Do you catch them all? There's a lot of criminals out there. Do you catch them all? No. Even though the jail cells are full, you understand? You still want people to build more jail cells, and at least you got people politicking for that. Why? Because there are more crimes being committed by more individuals. You don't use the excuse that there are other people that are probably guilty of such things to absolve somebody that's got caught. Joe Paterno and Penn State University got caught with their hands dirty.
Time out. Did Jerry Sandusky's crimes make Penn State's football team better?
No. But what I'm saying to you is, you can look at it that way. You know how I can look at it? If you, meaning Penn State, had sat there and exposed him earlier, you thought it might have hurt your program. And that was the reason that you didn't sit there and make sure you addressed them. And so my point is, in a roundabout way, that addresses your point. Because you did it to protect the institution.
I don't think
you did it.
This is just me.
Right.
I don't think Paterno feared what it would do to his program. He feared what it would do to his image.
Okay.
Because he had aligned himself.
No, I'm saying, Skip, think about, how do we come to this? Skip, I found out a dude on my staff is molesting children.
Okay.
I report him, I get his behind, arrest him. Let me finish.
If Paterno had done that the first time he heard this, what would have happened? Nothing. Nothing would have happened to Penn State football.
So what I'm trying to say to you is this, Skip. Nothing would have happened to him. I found out this dude I'm not going to even use the word I want to use. The dude's a child molester. Arrest him. We don't look at Paterno as a hero.
I agree.
There's no argument there.
Okay.
So I don't want to hear that. The fact of the matter is, he thought potentially, because you know how these coaches think. A lot of times they think about the program because they're attached to the program, but they're thinking about the program. Who's going to want to report it? If I report this, maybe the parents of these kids that's coming here won't want them coming here. It's not about Paterno. It was about the program.
Yeah, Joe Paterno was viewed around this country as the most upstanding coach in college football.
And what would have happened if he had reported somebody? He would have been considered even more upstanding.
I agree.
So why not do it? So it wasn't about him.
Yes,
it was about that program.
No.
That's what happened. And listen, they did what they did. You got to pay the piper. I don't agree with the governor in this particular situation at all. I respect where they're coming from, but I wholeheartedly disagree. And I'm not accusing anybody of condoning child molestation. I would never be that irresponsible. But what I am saying is, when something like that, something that egregious transpires, people got to pay. That's just the way it goes down. And that's the way it should.